Hello, this is Christy Strickler for GetItScrap.com. We're going to be talking with you about scrapbooking ideas for using nature photos so that you can tell a personal story. I know that personally I have a very difficult time getting some of those nature shots onto scrapbook layouts. There isn't always an obvious story to tell, and I was just making the shot because I saw something beautiful. Today we're going to share some inspiration from the Get It Scrapped creative team about how you can use those nature photos on a page to tell a story about yourself. Our first scrapbook layout is by Marcia Fortunato. She says, "These photos were taken while on a hike in Minnesota in December. I included a couple of pictures of the trail through the grasses and the woods, as well as a detail shot of one of the tall grasses backlit by the sun, and a picture of my feet along the trail, a shot that I often take. The photos and journaling explain why I so love to hike in the winter. When photographing plants, move so that they are lit mainly from behind or from the side to highlight the silhouette of your subject. The beautiful shapes and light will become the focus. This can be particularly useful if you live in an area that gets cold and snowy, where there is not a lot of color in the late fall and winter scenery." So she's telling a story about how she loves to hike in the winter, and she's supporting her nature photos with a wonderful use of color. I love that she's kind of highlighted the season with the white, the mint, and the cream, and she's got soft wood grain embellishments on the page. Wood grain is a wonderful embellishment to use as a motif or texture on these pages that you're making about yourself and your nature photos. Our second layout is by Jet Hampton. She says, "These are photos of the beauty we enjoy throughout the seasons thanks to my mom, her green thumb, and her love of flowers. She always tells us she isn't artistic, but I disagree. She just uses a different medium to create her art. The layout design is using the Scrapbook Coach Sprawl class, and you can find that class in the Get It Scrap membership." She continues to say, "I use close-up shots to capture the little details that we can miss with our eyes, as well as a wide shot to show all of the flowers and how they work together for that season." So a couple of things to note here. I love that she has the one wide shot of all of the flowers together. So many times when I'm out shooting pictures of flowers, I often focus on the macro shots. The other thing I would point out here is that we've also got a wonderful use of color. She has a very muted canvas. It's a light beige color, and it allows the photos to really pop off the page. You still get that this is a very spring garden style themed page, but those photos are really the highlight because of that color choice. And she's also got a garden motif going with those butterflies. So if you've got butterflies, flowers, little birds, and you're not sure how to use them, your nature photos and the layouts about those are a wonderful way to get those out of your stash. Something that you can try with your nature photos is to experiment with printing larger size pictures. Often nature photos are very beautiful, as is the case with Summer Christensen's photos on her Nevada desert layout here. I also want you to pay attention to the fact that this and the previous layouts had very minimal embellishing. Often those nature photos are the highlight of the page, and they don't need a lot of embellishments or decorations to make the page feel finished. Summer Christensen says, "These photos are of the Nevada desert, and the story is of how this landscape is an acquired taste. When scrapbooking nature photos, the photo must take main stage and tell the story. A lot of embellishments are not needed when the focus is driving the point of how nature touches your life." On this layout by Katie Scott, she has used a light green color, and it's kind of unusual, not because it's a nature layout, but because it's more of a beach themed layout. And typically when you think of a seashore or a sea themed motif, you're going to use the light browns, the light blues, the navies. But despite all of that, the light green really works here because this is how she feels about nature, and she's made it very personal. So when you're making your layouts with your nature photos, don't get caught up in theme. Try to use products that really make you feel in touch with the photo symbolically. Katie Scott says, "I used a photo of a crab shell I found at low tide to symbolize the way I feel about the time I spend at the seashore. My tip would be to keep a camera with you when you are in nature so that you can capture nature photos. If you love being in or near the water, consider getting a water camera or getting a waterproof case for your phone. These items are more affordable than they've ever been. This layout by Jennifer Kellogg continues to show that you really don't need a lot of embellishing with some of your photos. They're just so stunning, so beautiful, that you could print them large and let them be the focal point of your page. Jennifer Kellogg says, "This layout features a photo of Creede, Colorado. I chose a simple design to emphasize the picture. It reminds me of how the air smelled and how the breeze felt. If you are like me, then you take a lot of nature photos. Few come out as stunning as this one. When you find those gems, give them lots of room on the page. Let the photo shine as your focal point." The final layout we're sharing today is one that I actually created for Get It Scrapped. It's photographs that I took of little birds around the islands when I lived in the Bahamas. I documented the story of how I almost became an ornithologist on this page, and I also documented various bird encounters I've had during my life, many of which I didn't have specific photos for, so I was able to get multiple stories. When you're looking at your nature photos, sometimes they're going to inspire more than one story from you. So use them, leave space for journaling, and don't worry too much about embellishing if you don't have the space. Let the photos and the story be the focal point. Now, birds and animal photos often look best when the creature is looking towards the camera, and this doesn't always happen. You can make a collage of your best photos with one of them being the focal point. Arrange the other photos in the collage so that all of the animals are looking toward this one focal point photo. And in this case, taking the photos of these birds, I wasn't very close to them. So in order to really highlight them, I had to crop the picture close. So when you're working with small animals, butterflies, bugs, it's perfectly fine to crop in close to capture those nature photos. I'd also like to point out that, similar to Katie Scott, I broke away from traditional nature-themed kits or prints here. Probably the only one that is nature-themed is the small print with the birds and the trees sort of in the background, and then I just used the one bird motif. Since this page was about my love for the birds, I used a lot of pink, and I felt that the design on the page, the little arrows, reminded me of the birds' footprints. So again, feel free to step outside of your normal comfort zone and grab different supplies that remind you of something in that picture, something of your story, and you'll get a deeper meaning to your scrapbook page. We've seen a lot of examples of nature-themed scrapbook layouts today from the Get It Scrapped team. You can view the original layouts and the original article on the Get It Scrapped blog, and we'll link to that for you in the notes for this video. For more inspiration, visit getitscrapped.com/blog.